we're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo. There isn't really...
What's good, my good people? Welcome back to another video. This one's going to be a lot shorter than the original one that I recorded. Because guess what? I'm an idiot. I recorded an entire 11-minute video and my microphone was not recording. So literally, I have an entire 11-minute file of me discussing the situation. And my mic did not even pick up a single speck of it. So, fuck, here we are again, redoing it. I tried to recover the audio, but nothing worked. I think none of my inputs were picking up, so not even the webcam was working, not even my recording software as well. That wasn't picking up. It was just all the mic input, which wasn't coming through. So apologies for that. But yeah, as you can see from the title of the video, this is going to be more of an Xbox related video. I was discussing the recent Phil Spencer interview, discussing the scenario with Xbox after their buggy launch with Redfall and just their overall position in terms of like the console wars and his outlook on how this generation is going to go. So let's get back into it. I'll try and open it this time. It should pick up. So when I'm watching it over here, it should pick up for you guys. Hopefully it picks up, but I will insert the clip into the actual recording itself. So this was the...
We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo. There isn't really a great solution or win for us. And I know that will upset a ton of people, but it's just the truth of the matter is that when you're third place in the console marketplace and the top two players are as strong as they are and have in certain cases very discrete focus on doing deals and other things that will that kind of make being Xbox hard for us as a team.
That was the first point I wanted to cover when he was talking about being third in the race, which again, he has a point, right? Xbox never been doing numbers, not since like the Xbox 360 era. They've never been, you know, Nintendo's always been the leader, and then PlayStation, and then Xbox. But where I disagree with what he was talking about, all doing discrete deals and everything like that, Microsoft has been purchasing a lot of studios, and they just haven't been releasing anything good with those studios. So they can't, on one hand, be hoovering studios on this side, and then on the other hand, also be complaining that other people are making it hard to be Xbox and Microsoft, if you get my drift.
For us as a team, that's on us, not on anybody else.
Yeah, and like he says, that's on
our
us,
vision is that everybody who's on console has to feel like they have a great experience and they're a first-class citizen. They've invested a ton in our platform, but we are not in a position, and I see it out there. I see commentary that if you just build great games, everything would turn around.
And then the great games point is the one that I wanted to argue against heavily, because what is the point of your console if it's not for games? Like, what is the point of having a console if you're just going to do Game Pass and cloud gaming? Like, literally, great games are the foundation of these consoles. That's what Nintendo lives off of. That's what makes Nintendo so great. All their exclusive games that you find on their platform. Same for a PlayStation. It's not as strong as the Nintendo brand, but like I mentioned, again, I'm rehashing a lot of points that I had mentioned in the video before, so apologies if this video is a bit rushed because I am having to re-record it. But yeah, I was in the previous video I did mention my, like, the God of War affiliation, for example, for me, where I buy God of War, right? I grew up loving God of War, so I was always going to continue to buy whatever platform, right, I can get God of War on. But if you give me another good game, I'm not gonna be against buying another platform. And the example I gave was with Hellblade, right? Hellblade made me want to get you know, another Xbox game, but I ended up getting Hellblade on PC. But I bring up that example to mention because further on in the interview he talks about, you know, the digital libraries already being established and how Starfield being an 11 out of 10 is not going to make someone want to sell, you know, their PlayStation, which he has a point. But you're not supposed to try and make someone want to sell their existing console, right? The point of you competing and making good games and great games is so there's great games on your platform and it's going to make people want to play on your platform, right? You can't just rely on third-party games. I think he mentioned Fortnite as one of, the established libraries and stuff like that. You can't keep relying on third-party games to keep pushing your console, because like you can have powerful architecture, and I've said this 1,000 times before. Xbox is the most powerful console in terms of gaming. It has the best architecture, but it's missing one major component, which is the games, and that's the reason why they're continuously not going to keep doing what they did in like the Xbox 360 era. And I mentioned again in the lost footage, Xbox 360 did so well because of Halo and Forza and Gears and so many other great titles. And then as soon as those titles started to die, the other sales slightly died off as well, because then what's the point of then getting that, right? Because again, I mentioned with the cloud gaming ecosystem, right? So if I can get these games on PC, that's already one thing that's not going to make me want to get the console. But then simultaneously, if there's no exclusive that's going to push me to want to get the console, then I might as well just get a PC and then get a PlayStation. So then I'm in the happy middle ground, right? Where I have the PlayStation exclusives to the PlayStation, and that's my console. And then I have all the Xbox exclusives and Xbox games through PC. That's my happy middle ground. So when he mentions about the Starfield thing, like, he's right. You don't need Starfield to make people want to sell their existing console and switch. But you need to make Starfield good enough to make people want to add your console to the roster. And then that goes back to my point about Nintendo. Nintendo is Nintendo because of the games and what they provide. And Nintendo stick to their guns. They don't give a shit. They don't care what anyone else thinks. They're going to keep remaking the same games and making them better and better each time. And people are going to keep buying it because they love the games. People complain so much about, Nintendo's lack of like consumer friendly behavior and all that other stuff. But the reason why they keep going back is because the games are so good. And so that's where I disagree heavily with his point about, he constantly hears commentators talk about making great games and that won't turn around everything. Dude, great games are what is going to push your console. There's no point in having the most powerful console if there's no games to play on.
It's just not true that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you're going to see console share shift in some dramatic way. We lost the worst generation to lose in the Xbox One generation, where everybody built their digital library.
And he has a point there again about
so
the
when
digital
you go
libraries.
and you're building on Xbox, we want our
But those digital libraries aren't the only thing that's making a consumer buy. And again, I go back to the God of War example. If you literally took God of War and moved it to Xbox, I would go and buy Xbox tomorrow. But again, that's the example I'm using because God of War is one of my favorite games. But that also goes for games like The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon, all these other great exclusives and titles where I'm like, if I can get them on this console, I'll go buy them on this console, because that's for me what's like pushing my buying decision, right? It's not the other games I play. I play FIFA, right? I can play FIFA anywhere. I can play FIFA on Xbox, PlayStation, cross-play, it doesn't matter, right? That's not gonna give you like a buying decision for a console. Rainbow Six Siege, another game I play, I can play it on any platform, right? So if I'm gonna make my decision off of those games, then maybe yes, it doesn't really matter what console I choose. But if I'm gonna make my buying decision off of the exclusives and the titles that are gonna really move me, and I always like to make the food comparison, right? Where a lot of the third-party games that I enjoy, they're like your KFCs, your McDonald's, the games that you love and you enjoy them, like Rainbow Six Siege. I play Rainbow Six Siege every other weekend and I love it. But when I play something like Uncharted, I feel like that's going to a 5-star restaurant, right? And so even though I love KFC, I'll eat KFC. That's not really going to make my, decision. So then stuff like Uncharted, that's your 5-star restaurants, where that's going to make my buying decision to be like, if I have access to this 5-star restaurant, I don't mind going to the KFCs and whatever's, but I know once a month I can go to this restaurant. So of course I'm going to choose that other fucking restaurant. And it goes back to like the console thing. So of course I'm going to choose where I get my God of War, and then all the other third-party fluff is just going to be, it's not going to affect my purchasing decision. But yeah, it's so confusing because a lot of people have been saying this, and that's like the coverage that a lot of people have come out with. And again, I'm saying this from a Sony perspective, but I'm not saying it as any anti-Xbox or anything, because competition is good. It's another thing I raised in my video. The better that Xbox is, the better that PlayStation is going to be, the better that Nintendo is going to be. Competition is good for everyone. It's cutthroat. It'll make everyone, iron sharpens iron, as the cliche goes. And I mentioned also the example with EA, right? Where EA took over the football game industry, and once they got everyone else out the paint, they got complacent. After FIFA 12, FIFA just started stagnating. FIFA stopped innovating because they had no competition. They had no reason to get better. Same goes for NBA. Once 2K took NBA Live out the paint, they had no reason to innovate. They had no reason to get better, to continue to improve. So again, a good Xbox is good for the entire industry. Whether you love Xbox, whether you hate Xbox, it's good for everyone. So to see them taking the stance is a little bit, again, puzzling.
Xbox community to feel awesome, but this idea that if we just focused more on great games on our console, that somehow we're going to win the console race.
Again, great games don't
really
make you win the console race, but great games will make you a great platform, and it'll make people keep coming back and wanting to enjoy things that they can't enjoy elsewhere. So again, like I was saying, not everyone can afford to buy multiple consoles. So of course, there's always going to be people that are going to choose, right? They're going to choose, like, this is first priority, this is second priority. But if you make games great enough to make people want to then be conflicted, then you're going to get people who then own both. Because then they're going to be like, oh, I can play God of War on my PlayStation, I can play Hellblade on my Xbox, or I can play Hellblade on my PC, blah, blah, blah. Choose. And then like the Nintendo games, I can only play whatever Mario game or whatever, I can only play it on Nintendo, so I'm gonna go to Nintendo. Simple as. It's not a matter of trying to migrate to the other platform completely, because that's not going to happen.
90%
right?
of the people every year who walk into a retailer to buy a console are already a member of one of the three ecosystems.
And again, he has a point there. People are already a member of the ecosystem, but again, why are they a member of the ecosystem? He keeps sidestepping that major factor, that why people are members of these ecosystems is because of the games on those ecosystems. It's not because, oh, I grew up playing PlayStation or I grew up playing Xbox. No, like I said, I grew up playing PlayStation, but tomorrow, if you told me God of War is moving to Xbox, I will move to Xbox expeditiously. Simple as, because the games is what's going to keep moving my decision. It's not just the platform. There is no like blind platform loyalty. There's loyalty to good games, and again, to the Nintendo example I keep giving, because Nintendo, again, people always criticize them, they haven't innovated much. They're, again, a lot of anti-consumer practices, but the reason why people keep going back is because there's games that you can only get on Nintendo, whether you like it or not. So again, the games are going to keep pushing the platforms.
And their digital life.
This nonsense about, oh, it's not going to affect people. No, it's bullshit. It's not going to make people switch platforms, but it'll make people add your platform to their roster.
This is the first generation where the big games that they're playing were games that were available last gen. When you think about Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft, like the continuity from generation to generation is so strong. I see a lot of pundits out there that kind of want to go back to the time where we all had cartridges and discs, and every new generation.
And again, when he goes to that point about going back to cartridges and discs and basically starting on a clean slate, that can only be done by producing good games. Again, the more good titles you bring out, it's going to keep creating a sort of clean slate, because I'm going to want to play it. Like, again, The Last of Us or whatever. If you make the next Last of Us on Xbox and I want to keep playing the story, I'm gonna buy a fucking Xbox to continue the adventures that I started with The Last of Us. And it's not because, oh, suddenly I've decided, no, Xbox is superior. No, it's because I want to play the game. So great games are gonna push your platform regardless, dude. It doesn't matter. This is nonsense. And again, this is what confuses me, because again, like I said, there's nothing wrong with Game Pass. There's nothing wrong with cloud gaming. It's all good innovations, but you have to pair it with still having the good games, because then you have all the ecosystem working together, right? Rather than just having all the third-party games be the drivers and flexing that you have the best architecture.
And you could switch the whole console share. That's just not the world that we are in today. There is no world where Starfield's an 11 out of 10 and people start selling their PS5s. That's not going to happen.
And then, yeah, that was the Starfield comment. So, again, he's right. He's right and he's wrong. So, like I was saying, I'm not disagreeing with what he's saying. He has a lot of valid points. But the approach that they are looking at it from is where I feel like it's fundamentally wrong, because they're neglecting the big elephant in the room about the good games, right? So all these other problems can be alleviated once you have good games. Simple. And then the examples that he keeps bringing up, Nintendo and PlayStation, what do they have? They have the games, because the third-party games aren't going to push buying decisions. It's as simple as much as people want to disagree with it, it's not going to happen. But yeah, apologies for the more rushed video. Figured I'd just discuss this topic. I had a much longer video discussion of this, but the footage just corrupted. I feel like I could show outro takes of the footage, but it's just me in the same position. I'm wearing my Madrid kit. Today is the Copa del Rey final. So I'm about to watch that final, but I figured let me just discuss the Xbox situation. But yeah, as always, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you agree or disagree with me? Do you agree or disagree with Phil? What's your take on the situation? What do you think Xbox need to do to sort of up their game? Another point that I talked about in the previous video as well was about the whole live service games needing to be online to play offline games. I'm not sure if I mentioned that again this time. That's another thing they were having with Redfall, where again, sort of my gripe with subscription-based gaming, and we've seen it with like launchers on PC where you have to be online to play an offline game. That's another thing that I also never understand, because not only do people not always want to be online, but sometimes people just, your internet is just off, or you know, you have an outage or something like that, or you simply don't have access to constant internet. Then how are you gonna try and enjoy the game? That's another thing that a lot of these subscription live service models don't look at. But yeah, that's another discussion for another day. As always, hope you enjoyed the video. Stay safe, stay dangerous, stay healthy, stay blessed, and peace out. Video essays and stuff, but in the meantime, right now, my monitor, because I'm used to my camera being on my monitor, but I moved the camera.
Stop right there! Okay. With not. This is your fault. This is nobody's fault, Henry.
If you're really like into some nature shit, on weekends you can always